No one in the auditorium noticed the old janitor at first. He moved quietly, the way people who have lived invisible lives often do, sweeping the stage edges, checking the cables, wiping smudges off the floor that performers would later shine upon. But tonight was different. Tonight the spotlight would touch him, even though he had never once asked for light. It began with a mistake, a simple, almost comical mix-up that destiny seemed to orchestrate with perfect timing. The host stood backstage shuffling cue cards while the production team rushed around in panic because the guest performer was late. The audience murmured restlessly, unaware that the performer's car had broken down miles away. Time was slipping, pressure mounting. The host glanced at the closest staff member and asked, "Who's next?" Someone pointed blindly toward Elias, who happened to be adjusting a loose microphone wire near the curtain. "He is," the assistant whispered, misunderstanding entirely. And so, when the host announced the next performer's name, misreading Elias' name tag, the crowd applauded, expecting a rising star. But what they got instead was a man in a faded maintenance uniform, holding a mop in one hand and confusion in the other. Gasps fluttered across the room. Someone chuckled. Someone else whispered, "Is this part of the show?" But the lights were already shifting, narrowing into a single spotlight that found Elias at the center of the stage. He froze. His heart hammered. He had fixed lights on this stage for 20 years, but he had never stood in them. For a moment, the entire auditorium felt suspended, like the world was deciding between embarrassment and revelation. Elias gently placed the mop against a speaker stand. His hands trembled as he picked up the microphone he had never expected to hold. He wasn't supposed to be here. His job was to clean the stage, not perform on it. Yet something in the hall, a silence soft and strangely welcoming, pushed him forward. He looked out at the sea of faces. The lights blinded him, but behind the glow he imagined every person who had ever overlooked him. Every hurried "thank you" delivered without eye contact. Every moment he swallowed his dreams so his younger sister could live hers. All the nights he swept this very floor humming melodies no one ever heard, melodies that carried pieces of the boy he once was, a boy who dreamed of music before life taught him responsibility. Elias took a breath. The microphone felt heavier than it should have, like it carried the weight of the years he had lost. He didn't come here to impress. He didn't want fame. He just wanted to survive each day, pay the bills, keep the theater running, and make sure his sister never felt the hunger he felt growing up. But the song he held inside him was older than fear. The first note left his mouth like something ancient awakening. Soft, trembling, cracked at the edges, but pure. The sound rolled across the room, and conversations died instantly. People leaned forward. Some tilted their phones up, unsure if this was a hidden camera moment or the discovery of a lifetime. He sang not with polish or technique, but with a soul bruised yet unbroken. Every word carried stories he never told, the years he worked double shifts, the sacrifices he made so his sister could go to school, the dreams he buried to keep her safe. His voice held warmth that felt like memory, like hope returning after years in hiding. In the first 10 seconds, something extraordinary happened. The audience rose. Slowly, hesitantly at first, then fully, almost instinctively, as though they recognized the truth in his voice before they understood the man behind it. And in that breathtaking moment, the janitor no one ever noticed became the man no one could look away from. Backstage, the production team stood frozen, their headsets half slipping off as they stared at the monitor showing the man who was never meant to be center stage. The judges exchanged glances, trying to decide whether they were witnessing a glorious accident or a miracle arriving unannounced. No script had prepared them for this moment. No rehearsal had hinted at it. Elias was rewriting the night simply by singing from a place people rarely shared, the quiet corners of sacrifice. But the most stunned person in the entire building wasn't a judge, nor a producer. It was Mira. She stood at the very back of the auditorium, still wearing the nurse scrubs she rushed in with. She hadn't planned to be here. She only stopped by to give her brother dinner because she knew he would work late, as always. But then she heard the voice, that voice, rising above the chatter, echoing through the hall like a memory she used to fall asleep to when she was little. For a moment, she couldn't move. It felt like time itself paused just so she could take in the sight she had waited her entire life to see, Elias, the man who sacrificed every childhood dream to raise her, finally breathing life into his own. The song continued, and the deeper he sang, the more layers of his heart unfolded for the world to witness. Yet as powerful as it sounded, a familiar fear crept up his spine. He felt it in the slight quiver of his jaw, the way his fingers tightened around the microphone. He had lived decades believing dreams belonged to other people. He had grown used to blending into shadows, used to applause meant for the performers he cleaned up after. Halfway through the song, the note he reached for slipped. Just barely. But it was enough. A ripple of uncertainty moved through the audience like a passing chill. Elias felt it instantly. His breath faltered. His confidence cracked. His old, painful belief whispered, "You don't belong here." He lowered his gaze, his voice thinning as doubt curled around him. Cameras zoomed in. People leaned back in their seats. The moment threatened to collapse. But then something impossible happened. A soft, trembling voice, familiar and fragile, broke through the silence from the back of the room. "Sing, Eli, the world finally found you." Myra's words floated through the auditorium like a secret carried by wind. Elias's eyes widened. Even from across the hall, he recognized her tone, the same voice he used to comfort during storms, the voice he protected, the voice he lived for. His chest tightened. He closed his eyes, letting her words settle into the cracks of his fear. The trembling in his hands faded. The heaviness in his heart lifted. He inhaled slowly, deeply, as though drawing strength not just from breath, but from every sacrifice he had made to ensure Mira never lived the hard life he did. When he began singing again, the change was immediate, a rise, a renewal, a reclaiming. His voice didn't just recover, it transformed. It carried ache, hope, survival, and a lifetime of unspoken stories. People felt it. They felt him. Some covered their mouths. Others wiped tears. The entire auditorium leaned toward the stage as if gravity itself had shifted around him. The judges sat in awe. One whispered, "This isn't talent, this is truth." Elias sang the final chorus with a strength he didn't know he still possessed, his eyes glistening, his heart completely open. When he finished, his voice dissolved into a trembling silence that filled every corner of the hall. The crowd didn't clap immediately. They exhaled, collectively, softly, as if recovering from something sacred. Then the applause erupted. And in that loud, breathtaking storm of admiration, Elias stood in the center of the stage with one truth rising above all others. He was no longer a shadow. He was finally seen.